Welcome everybody to Elo Hell Get Good Europe Season 7. I'm Jerazer, joined here by Misfit, and we will be bringing you our opening game of the day in the Advanced Division between Lootbox and Power Nappers.
Yes, and this one, of course, is a very important game for both of these teams. Both of them need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Of course, both of them sitting at 3 and 4, which is a little bit under the cut. They need to get to 4 and 4 in order to make playoffs. So this is kind of a win or go home situation for both these teams.
Yeah, and we are gonna get into the game fairly quickly, and there will be our opening map is gonna be Control, and it's gonna be on Lijiang Tower, a map that a lot of teams like to play on, as three very distinct points that at times have had three completely different compositions played on them.
Yeah, I'm assuming we'll see something like that now. Of course, we probably will see Sim on both Night Market and Control Center, but on Gardens, we're more likely to see things like Double Bubble, maybe even some ball comps. These guys are feeling frisky. It is important to note this is our expert division, the 3900 and above division. So these will be some very, very good teams, and they will know the meta very well. So I expect to see only the most meta comps, no weird off meta strange picks like we see in the lower elos. So I'm very excited to see what each of these teams decides to run for us here.
Yeah, you take a look at their rosters, kind of nothing out of the ordinary for these teams if you've been keeping up to date. DPS line for both, straight like you normally see, and then tank and supports just kind of their straight rosters. But yeah, like you said, Lijiang is a point where you could see the Symmetra on two of the points. You even see it on Garden some. At times when Brawl has been the meta, you will see the Sim even run on Gardens just for those opening fights. But as soon as you lose, you normally switch off because it's very hard to re-engage with the Sim. It's much easier to, if you can get win the opening engagement, you can lock down that point pretty easily. So I'm very interested to see the compositions that are going to be run on this opening map for two reasons. One, the meta is in flux right now. Nobody really knows what's best. And then also, like we talked about, this map is three very different points.
Yeah, no, you mentioned the meta being in flux, and frankly, I couldn't really agree more. But there's a lot of different compositions that are kind of vying for that top spot to be like the best composition. Of course, we have Double Bubble, which is what we see a lot of in the Overwatch League when Tracer isn't banned, and that kind of revolves around your Winston diving in with that Zarya bubble, then using his own bubble, and that creates space for the DPS to do things. We also have the Rush comp, of course, with Ryan, D.Va, McCree, Bap, Lucio, which is what we see a lot here. We see both these teams on it right now, except they're opting for a Sigma, actually, instead of the D.Va. This is most likely, of course, just because, on Night Market, on this very tight, enclosed point, it's helpful to have the extra shield sometimes. But still, we usually see teams opt for the D.Va here, so it is a little bit confusing to me.
Yeah, I got to do the both games on Friday as well, and we saw some of the teams in the intermediate. One of the teams, I can't remember the name, ran the Sigma the whole time, and this time it's going to be the opening pick. Takes down Existence on the Symmetra. That's just going to be a roll through. Very quick opening pick, comboed off that Symmetra right click from Bulldog, and then the damage to come through on the follow-up. So very quick engagement for Lootbox. I mean, the point's not even unlocked yet, and they already have won the fight.
Yeah, and that's kind of the story. In these higher elos, the team that gets to the point first, that teleport, is going to win the fight 9 times out of 10. And Lootbox there just a hair faster than Power Nappers, and they're able to secure the fight. And now we see Power Nappers switch their comp. They don't want to keep the Sim. They want to go over to the traditional McCree and see if they can win the fight with a more traditional composition.
Yeah, they're going to try to push in. Reinhardt taking a lot of pressure from the Symmetra turret. Shatter's going to get dropped. It's going to hit one, and the Immortality Field has already been used, so it's not there to keep their remaining players alive for Power Nappers. So they're going to lose 2 players very early on, and Lootbox is going to capitalize on that and get another fairly quick and easy fight win here as we are building up to some very crucial ultimates.
Yeah, Lootbox looking very strong right now. The only really good ultimate they're lacking charge in is that sound barrier. They should be able to get it after this fight. They will have their Sim Wall and their BAP window coming into this next fight. But Power Napper's also close to their Shatter, which would be a very, very dangerous ultimate. If he can land a bait Shatter, that could be a point split very easily for Power Nappers.
Yeah, Symmetrol goes up directly in front of where that Ant Matrix is. So it's going to block off basically all the pressure Power Napper's Ant Matrix could provide. But now that both have faded, they're going to try to engage in. That Maywall is very good. It's going to separate multiple players off from the rest of the team. And then the Blizzard on top is going to be more than enough to secure this fight. Very strong Lootbox look. And now they have 3 fight-winning ultimates when they only need to win 1.
Yeah, they've got that Shatter, they've got that Flux, and they're coming up on that Sound Barrier. They are a little bit behind in Double Charge, but so are their opponents, so it's no big deal. And look at this, Silverfox going for a Flame Shatter, and he gets it!
It's going to hit multiple players, and they're going to fall. There's a Flux coming up behind that, and it's going to lift up many players from Power Nappers and nearly take them out. Cheesy only now builds up to his Sound Barrier. It's going to be too little too late. High Noons should be blocked off. It actually does take down the Reinhardt, but I don't think it will matter too much as you still have the entirety of Lootbox there. As it's just stolen out for Power Nappers. If they can keep the Diva off the point, they will not be able to. So Lootbox are looking very good to take this opening point, excuse me, in pretty dominant fashion. And it's a good start. Because now if we move over to Control Center, we will see if we do in a second. I feel very confident about Lootbox taking this 2-0.
Yeah, you know, something I do want to mention, although this was an extremely dominant victory for Lootbox, this map has a very specific point meta, right? Like, Night Market plays way different than any other point or map in the entire game. So I don't know if it's a really good gauge of how strong Lootbox is as a team. While the Symmetra is still good here, the point doesn't play exactly the same. So we're going to have to see if Lootbox is actually the dominant team we're seeing right now, or if that first fight was just a fluke.
5, 4.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see.
1.
As we're gonna see mirror comps appears from both sides. The Junkrat and Sim, and they're gonna go for a very quick TP, and then a lot of damage comes through from this Junkrat. Takes down Vert before the fight even begins. And then everybody else is going to fall as they try to make it out with their lives. Lootbox, once again, a very quick fight win.
Yeah, Vert just getting a little bit too far up there, just peeks for like half a second too long outside of his Sig Shield, and he gets punished for it. You know, once that BAP goes down, you're pretty much screwed. That's a ton of healing just gone for your team, and you either have to win the fight right there or just lose it. And when it's a 5v6 like that and everyone still has resources, that's a guaranteed fight win for Lootbox.
Yeah, now Power Nappers are gonna come back into this. They're staying on the same composition, but the Shatter gets dropped. It fights through. The Immortality Field's there to keep everybody up for now. The counter pit from IQB will not really matter due to the fact that he was already low health, and players from Lootbox were there to capitalize. So everybody, all Lootbox is gonna stay up in these first 2 fights. Not a single death so far in the second point.
Look at this, Silverfox already 50% to his next Shatter. He has just been dominant so far in this match. Coming up big with plenty of plays. He had that flick shot in the last map, and he's keeping it up on this one as well. Such a dominant main tank player here for Lootbox.
Yeah, they're going to start off with the Flux. Lootbox will, and it's quite good. Nothing to really stop other than the Immortality Field. Due to the Ant Matrix, though, from Power Nappers, Lootbox are going to be forced to pull on back some. Now the Ant Matrix from Lootbox is going to be deployed. It's just going to be used to try to keep everybody up. As Cynics has a tire, and it catches Katos in a very strange spot there. And then the Flux is good as well. So they find 2 very early kills, and then Bulldog tried to turn the fight with his tire, but it just gets shut down. So a good re-engagement there from Power Nappers to keep their Grims alive.
Yeah, and we see Power Nappers finally get their first fight win of the match, actually, and it's much needed. They really needed the momentum to be in their favor now, and now they have a lot of tools to keep it. They've got their Sim Wall, they've got a Sound Barrier, and they're coming up on a Shatter. They just need to use their cooldown smart here, and they can keep this point.
Yeah, but the TP into the Shatter! Oh, that was so nicely done, but the Sim Wall and the Sound Barrier there from the only 2 players that did not get Shattered to try to keep everybody up. But Bulldog is going to follow up with one of his own. There's a Shatter from IQB very late into the fight, but like I said, it's fairly late. Existence is still up, though. The Symmetra can do so much damage late into these fights, but they just do not have the resources to keep him up. So this is going to be Lootbox regaining control. Now they only need 1 more fight to take Li Jiang.
How creative a play was that? Just an excellent piece of coordination there from Tatran and Sibravok. They teleport him into the backline, hits a massive shatter, and they don't win off that, but because of that shatter, they are able to win the fight. But now Cynics is going to find Bulldog early.
Yeah, he went for a weird off-angle. Man should take him down. Very well done there. Now this Matrix for Power Nappers putting so much pressure onto the Reinhardt, and then the Tire to close it out. Finds 3. Not sure if it was really needed due to the fact that they were already up 3 players in that fight, but nonetheless, Power Nappers regain control.
Honestly, with the way control goes, sometimes the complete victory there is sometimes preferred. You don't really want to let them hang around and stall the point out, because all it takes is a few picks and all of a sudden it's their point again. So they do have a Flux still online, so they are in a decent spot here. And they go with a fake TP this time. Very smart from Lootbox.
Yeah, and then they follow up with the Flux as well, which is fairly good. Doesn't result in any kills! The 3K fire strike through the Ant Matrix, though, from Sibravok. Oh my word, that's going to be more than enough to close out this fight. Now it's just Stall coming out from Power Nappers, and there's a Tire from Bulldog to close it out. And they have the ultimates and resources needed to try to stop anybody from touching Shatter into the pillar. Alright, well, it's just Stall. Wrecking Ball is here, Moira as well, but they're all just going to fade. And Power Nappers are going to be sent and be put to sleep. It's going to be Lootbox taking this opening map of Lijiang.
Yeah, and we have to talk about, for a second here, the just sheer creativity of a Lootbox. So many good plays with that teleporter we saw there. They knew their opponents would be ready for the teleporter the second time, because it is such a weird strategy, so they just throw it up. But they don't take it. They use the distraction. They use their opponent's fear against them, and they just get a free push through that tight choke, and they're able to capitalize off it. What they did there is they actually comboed the Flux with the window and the Fire Strike, because they don't have a pull, right? Typically when we see, we had that pull window Fire Strike back when Orisa Rhine was the meta, but with the Sigma, there is no halt to bring them close together. So what they did is they fluxed first, so that there would be enough players stuck in that one place because of the Sigma ult, so that the Fire Strike would hit multiple people, able to find through with it, and that guarantees them the fight win there for the final point of Lijiang.
Yeah, very nicely done there by Lootbox, and what was a very dominant and quick map. I mean, that map took less than 20 minutes to conclude, so nicely done there by Lootbox, and now we will be preparing for our next map.
Yeah, and
This will
while
be
we do, I want to talk a little bit more about just the creativity and the coordination, right? Something we talk about a lot in Overwatch is the team that goes first with their ultimates and their abilities is typically the one that wins the fight. Just because, you have the advantage of you're dictating the pace of the fight because you're the one who uses your resources first. And Lootbox consistently is the team that is going first, even when they're defending a point. They are the ones setting the pace, and that's what's causing them to be in such firm control of this game right now.
Yeah, but like I briefly mentioned, next map is going to be Blizzard World, and like you said, they're taking some very, they're saying the tempo, and the question is, I feel like eventually we, not necessarily will, but I feel like there's a good chance that we will be seeing them run comps other than these Brawl. And I wonder if Lootbox is still able to set the tempo when they're on maybe a double bubble or the Sigma Poke comp.
Yeah, it is possible. We did talk again very briefly about how Lijiang isn't a very good measure of how strong teams are, just because of how niche the compositions there are. Like you run Sim there, right? And you don't run Sim on any other map except for maybe Hanamura if you're feeling cheeky, right? So it's not the best gauge of how good Lootbox is at the meta compositions. And on Blizzard World, we definitely have potential for things other than Brawl. It is a very open map. There's a lot of high ground. So it's very, very good for things like snipers or double bubble. So I'm very curious to know what they will choose to run as we get into this hybrid.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And because you can think of a lot of teams who are very good at these one compositions. They're very fast. They're very aggressive. They can put the other team under a lot of pressure. And then as soon as the comp swaps, they start to they struggle a bit more. So it'll be interesting to see if Lootbox are able to continue this very high tempo gameplay that we've been seeing. As it's going to be, looks like they want to run the Brawl here on their defense. The attacking side, though, Power Nappers has some time to choose their composition.
I actually really don't like this from Lootbox. If I'm completely honest, I don't think the Brawl does that well against the double bubble here. They do have the Sigma, which will allow them to off-angle a little bit better, which might be what they're trying to go for. They might be trying to play a little bit more split, and that actually does look like that's what they want to do. But overall, the Brawl composition struggles against the hard dive of Power Nappers because it's so easy to flank a Brawl composition since they have such little map control. They typically group up and stay in one spot, and they use that to their advantage, but against the dive composition, it becomes a disadvantage very quickly.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they are able to do. As map control just given over to Power Nappers immediately. They just put a bit of pressure on the high ground and forces Lootbox to pull back to the point. A lot of poke. Look, Snix is already 50% to his duplicate by just poking from this high ground. And, I mean, at this point, if you're Power Nappers, you could just play it slow and wait for the dupe. Instead, they will try to put some more pressure on them. As you can see, the tanks have now moved around to the back high ground. And now they will engage onto the point there. 2 shots for Bulldog. 1 kill. Cynics falls. Very nicely done. Resurrect is available, though, but while they are doing that, the DMAC and Final Blow comes through onto Glemdale. Now it's looking like Power Nappers may want to pull back some and kind of go for a soft reset.
Yeah, what I want to see Power Nappers do here, and they were very close to getting it done, what I want to see is I want to see them flank and take a lot of angles and just play slow and poke out resources from Lootbox. They don't need to win a fight immediately, right? Lootbox has a ton of resources they can use very quickly to get a lot of value. They have the, the May Wall, they have the Flashbang, they have the Immortality Field, and you do not want to stage dive, and you do not want to make a hard engage while they still have all those cooldowns available to them. You want to get those resources out slowly, and then go for a hard engage.
Yeah, and that's what they're going to try to... And now they have a couple ultimates online, but so do Lootbox, so it's going to be an ult Fiesta. Cynic's going to try to go over the top, try to find this Reinhardt, and he will do so. So there's the duplicate. Putting a lot of pressure on the point. Already has the Shatter, but he's not able to get it off, and now he's taken out. So no Shatter available for Cynics, but the kills are still going to go their way for now. It's a 2-for-2 trade. Still anybody's fight. A lot of pressure on the Reinhardt of Sivovok. Forced on back some as the anti-nade's now going to fade. You only have the tanks and the supports alive for Lootbox, but that's enough to sustain for quite a while. And the Flux now is very good. It does manage to take down Cynics, and now this is looking much more winnable for Lootbox than it did at the start.
Target focus there from IQB and the rest of Power Nappers was very strange. They had the anti on the Reinhardt, which is why they were focusing him so hard, but once that anti's gone, the BAP can just heal for days through whatever damage you throw at him. So I would have liked to see them switch targets after the anti was gone onto the Baptiste, who's a little bit more squishy, a little easier to kill, and they just don't. And I feel like they spent way too much time trying to kill a target they reasonably couldn't, and Lootbox was able to stabilize, and now they're in prime position to take this with just a minute left.
They're gonna try to stick around here. Lootboxes, they've been playing this point very well, and the Matrix comes through nearly DMX Glendale very early on, but the Bob's thrown into the point, so it's gonna neutralize a lot of the abilities of that Ant Matrix, and the engagement comes through. The Bob gets booped quite far away, but still finds a kill. And the ultimates for Power Nappers are more than enough to secure this fight. Very nice Primal Rage coming up from IQB to find 3. It's going to be Power Nappers. Took them a decent chunk of time, but they do manage to find the capture of first point.
And let's talk about just how good Bob is as an ultimate. When there's no Ana on the field, Bob is such a powerful ultimate. There's nothing that can stop him other than boops or stuns or sleeps, but again, as we mentioned, no Ana on the field. And it's just placed perfectly in the point there. Takes all of Lootbox's attention, and Vert finds a nice anti that helps secure the fight for his team. Excellent play there from Power Nappers.
Yeah, good Shatter, though, from Lootbox. There's a ride from Sipavok, but he gets anti-nated, forced off back. Sound Barrier committed to try to keep everybody alive. The pin onto IQB. What the balls on this man. Ends up in their favor, though, as tanks have been removed from the fray, and Power Nappers forced to reset.
I like that sound barrier there from Katos, right? There's no reason to save it for anything, right? Power Nappers doesn't have any ultimates that the sound barrier really helps counter, so they use it as a tempo beat instead. And they notice that if they use the beat here, they can hard punish Power Nappers for their a little bit of over-aggression. They didn't have the resource to be playing that far up. They throw it. Oh, but Duracell's gonna fall to the bomb.
I mean, that's just gonna end the fight there. They lose all of their healing with that one pick. It was a beautiful bomb placement coming out from Glendale. Very nicely done there by Power Nappers to get a very efficient fight.
my mistake. I figured I could just talk through the bottom because the Baptiste has an eye field and there's no way anyone would die to it, right? But I stand mistaken. Durosan must have had it on cooldown for something else, and Glendale there with a big bomb there to help secure the fight for his team. But now Lootbox has a lot of ultimates stacked up, and you know, these ultimates are some good ones. They got the Blizzard, they got the Flux. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Sky Noon comes through from Lootbox and it finds the 2K fair onto that Mercy and Echo duo. And it's going to be a very nice combination of ultimates for Lootbox to halt the attack.
Yeah, only having to use 2 there is important because now they save this Blizzard, which is such a powerful ultimate. Maybe not so much against a dive composition that has a lot of mobility, but still, you can isolate a target, freeze them up, and then keep them frozen with that Blizzard, so it is still very strong.
Yeah, look at that. That kind of off-angle shatter comes through from Simmerhawk, and it allows for the opening pick to come through. The duplicate and the peel is there to allow for a resurrect, and the shatter from the duplicated Reinhardt does not find any value. Primal Rage is facing a lot of pressure as Sinex is very deep in. I think he should be able to stay alive, though, as this has been a very elongated fight, but IQB is not able to sustain for long enough and he ends up falling. There's a trade there onto the Mei, but I'd much rather lose my Mei than my main tank. There's going to be a switch over to the Wrecking Ball now for IQB, as it looks like they want to try to re-engage this fairly quickly, but they're going to lose their Ashe on the side.
Yeah, and that's a very nice pick there from Lootbox. That's going to help them stall this out, or rather stabilize this. They're actually going to commit the beat now, and Bulldog's going to fall, so maybe not as much of a stabilization as we originally thought. Glendale's going to find the bomb, though, too.
Yeah, it was a really nice icicle, though, to take down the baby. Give another icicle to the head. The Flux, I believe, it found 2, and it's going to kill 1. And so, even though Power Nappers had such a man advantage here, we're looking good to capture up second point. Some big plays coming out from the Mei and Groka of Lootbox are good enough for them to hold on. All in all, a very good defense from Lootbox.
I'm still not really sure how Power Nappers lost that. They had all the momentum in their favor, and then Tatron just hit a couple of really nice icicles, and Power Nappers suddenly lost, and it was very, very surprising. Definitely probably not what they wanted there, but it's still they got a pretty decent push there. They can't be too mad with that. They do have a very clear win condition here. If they stop them on first point, obviously they win, but they also have some room to work with on second point as well. So they have a little bit of margin for error. They got some breathing room for this defense.
Yeah, nicely done there, though, from Lootboxes now. We switch sides. Power Napper starting on the defense. They don't look like they know what they want to run other than this Echo Mercy. The attack picked a comp fairly quickly, and I wouldn't be surprised if they opted to run this. Or the double bubble with that Brig on a backline. Similar composition to what Lootbox ran on their attack, except you swap out the Echo for a Tracer. And it looks like we're going to see near mirror comps. But like I mentioned, Echo and the Mercy instead of the Tracer Brig.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about those differences. The Mercy's going to allow Sinex a lot of breathing room, not just for the damage boost, but also for the quick peel of having that Mercy pocket there to heal him whenever he needs it. And Lootbox is going to opt for a much more brawly style. They're going to have the Brig, they're going to have the Kree. You're going to see the Zarya, the Ana, the Brig, and the Kree just walk around together and act as a brawl comp, while Cybervok and Bulldog on that Winston Tracer just go to town elsewhere on the map. Unless Cybervok dies.
I mean, yeah, Cybervok just goes down really early on, and just as Lootbox try to do this rotation, they just did it kind of very slowly instead of to shut down fairly quickly. And now it's going to be Power Nappers trying to push the tempo here, try to catch out anybody from Lootbox who is still sticking around. They're doing so successfully. Nice, good ideas there from Power Nappers to push the engagement.
Yeah, so the reason that happened is because Cybervok didn't think he needed the resources. IQB was in a weird position. He didn't expect the follow-up from the rest of Power Nappers, and so he didn't ask for the bubble from Groka, and it wasn't there. He got hit with a full damage-boosted stickies, and all of a sudden he's like 2 HP, and he just falls, and it was very, very surprising. We continue to see Power Nappers take this fight in this very weird spot.
I mean, there's just pressure being put onto the point here. They seem to ignore Bulldog for now. So he's going to be able to get a tick for free, but while that happens, the rest of his team just dies. It was essentially just a 5-8-6 in favor of Power Nappers, and They capitalized on that. The idea was nice from Lootbox, but the execution was not there.
Yeah, typically what we want to see there is want to force point presence, and then once we see a rotation from Power Nappers, that's when we hard engage. But instead, Lootbox just hard engages at the same time the tick even starts, and because of that, Power Nappers is able to secure the fight without having to give up their position.
Yeah, now the dodge's going to come through onto the high ground. High Noon's going to come out, but it's going to be canceled fairly quickly. Duplicate from Cynic. Onto the Winston. It's good to find once. Nice sleep dart onto the Primal Raging Duplicate, though. It's just not going to matter as everybody is dropping for Lootbox. And this defense so far for Power Nappers has looked sublime.
Yeah, this is a great defense right now. I'm loving what I'm seeing from them. They're taking this fight in such a weird spot that Lootbox doesn't really know how to attack it. They're doing a great job keeping firm control of this high ground while they have their Winston kind of poke from low ground. And they can still support him from that high ground, so there's no real loss for Power Nappers here. And now Power Nappers has completely changed the momentum. With only a minute 30 remaining on this attack for Lootbox, they just look lost.
Yeah, they do just... they seem to be playing split in a lot of these fights as well, but Nano Boost is available. That's a very nice dive onto the high ground with the Nano Boosted Monkey, but the counter dive for Power Nappers is just as good. Grabshot Surge is in a great spot, and then the Primal Rage inside of it finds a 2K. It's still winnable, though, for the defense, as the High Noon does pick off one. The Bravok is forced on back, as this team is just going to regroup as they want to try to push in quickly as they do have this closer spawn. 2 ticks gain. Nearing the third, but that's when Power Nappers are forced to come back to the point. The Grabshot Surge catches everybody. 2 kills off the back of it before the trades are there. Another 2-for-2 trade. These fights are just so scrappy.
Yeah, and this could... I would say this could still go both ways, but enough of Power Nappers are back. Most importantly, that Brig, who is the primary anti-dive character in this comp. But Lootbox does get another tick out of this, so there is a way for them to win this. Power Nappers is not going to be able to set back up in their typical high ground spot. They're going to have to play this much more traditionally. So this is still, there is still a way Lootbox can win this. No ultimates available for Power Nappers, and a rally is available for Lootbox. They're going to be coming to this fight with a lot of armor and a lot of gumption trying to get this fight.
Yeah, and due to the fact that they are so, like, Power Nappers are, like you said, forced to play back. The flashbang's good. The rally armor is actually what keeps Bulldog alive there. If that's not available, he goes down. There's a 1-for-1 trade, but the Winston is the one that drops for Power Nappers, and they don't touch the... Oh, a C9. That's not what you want to see. It was a 4v5, and Power Nappers just didn't get onto the point, and it's going to be a Lootbox staying alive here in Blizzard World.
And now all of a sudden, Lootbox is the one setting the control. They're the ones with the tempo. Glemdill's going to go back onto that Zarya, switch there primarily just for the stall. And Lootbox here with a lot of really good ultimates. Going to have this grab soon. They've got the Nano, they've got the Pulse, and they've got the High Noon. They can win this.
Yeah, they very easily could. And that's the sticky bombs that are going to win them the fight. None of the ultimates, just the Echo right click. Is this going to be Power Nappers holding on? The card's going to continue to move, though, as the Winston was dropped.
Yeah, and a very nice anti-nade is going to secure the rest of that. The bomb is not quite there from Bulldog. A very ambitious bomb, if I do say so myself, considering that there was no fight going on or about to happen. So now Lootbox has to rely on this grab here. They've got a minute 30 left. They need one fight here. They need to find a way to use these ultimates well here, or else they're going to be packing it up, and we're going to even out the series at 1-1.
What he's able to do. Saberbox going to start moving the cart, has his Primal Rage online, so go quite deep. High Noon's going to come out from both sides. Grabshot Surge is very good from Roka. Locks them all up, and they're all going to fall. As this is very nicely done there by Lootbox to get it. And now they need one more fight win to secure this map.
Well, they might not even be able to get a full fight. If they keep 3 on card, it's going to get there very close. Power Nappers doesn't have a Lucio. They can't get to the point very quickly. And they do have a rally as well, so Power Nappers somehow going to have to touch.
Just didn't touch.
They're not going to be able to.
They didn't swap to stall. They thought they had time to get to the point, but they obviously did not. That's going to be Lootbox taking it to a lead. Not quite as dominant as their first map. A better showing for Power Nappers.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to give credit to Power Nappers there. They weren't able to take it in the end. Lootbox coming in clutch with some very nice plays. The grab high noon, not a combo we're used to, but hey, if it works, what's the problem, right? Definitely gotta give them props though. Their defense, Power Nappers defense, was very unorthodox, and I liked it. It was clearly very well thought out. It was a very interesting way to play Blizzard World that I haven't really seen a lot of. And they were able to almost win the map off of it, but just in the end, Lootbox able to come in clutch and put themselves up in this series 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0 like you mentioned, and I think this proves that Lootbox are not it shows that Power Nappers can play this closer when they're not forced onto the brawl. When they're able to play these other compositions, they look much more comfortable on. So I'm excited to see how they're able to work the map picks, and hopefully they can get a lucky pick or two from Lootbox, and then we could see them possibly get back into the series.
Yeah, no, and we definitely will have to see that when we get back. We will have Escort as our next map type here. Power Nappers, of course, it is their map pick, like you mentioned. Gonna want to be opting for less of those brawl comps, more of those dive comps. But we'll see what they decide to go with here once we get back from this very short break. Don't go anywhere.
Everybody to GitGud Europe, Season 7 Advanced. Oh, Expert, excuse me. I am Joe Razor, joined here by Misfit, and we are getting ready to hop into our third map of the series between Lootbox and Power Nappers. If you weren't here earlier, it is a 2-0 lead currently for Lootbox in a very crucial game. Essentially, depending on if something crazy happens, it will most likely be you win, you're into the playoffs, you lose, you're out. So it's very important for playoff implications, and Power Nappers would need to reverse sweep to make that a possibility, and they'll need to start here on their map pick of Gibraltar.
Yeah, and I do like this map pick. We talked a little bit at the end of the last map about how much better Power Nappers looked on that dive composition compared to the brawl composition we saw on Li Jiang. They definitely do not want to face Lootbox in the brawl mirrors. They're opting for a map where they don't have to worry about a Reinhardt because there's way too much high ground for anyone to consider playing a Reinhardt here. This has pretty much just always been a dive map. There's way too much high ground, and that high ground is so important to controlling the map. So everyone just plays dive here, and we're going to see a double bubble mirror, but there are going to be some slight differences. The main one's going to be we're going to see existence on the Kree, while Tatron's going to stick with that Echo.
Yeah, other than that, the comps are looking fairly similar. Start on the Symmetra to teleport them off onto the side, and swap onto the Tracer. But, Lootbox have really liked to run this... Power Nappers, excuse me, have really liked to run this Echo instead of the Tracer, but now the roles are reversed, so see what each side wants to bring. He's facing a decent amount of pressure. IQB will be forced on back. Heart's going to start to progress as well underneath the bridge. The Power Nappers are just going to sit on back while they sit one on cart. Then as soon as Lootbox is forced to drop, that's when you can expect a dive to come through. And there's a drop for one player, but it's just going to be a dive from Lootbox into the back. Trying to capitalize on that, but Cyberhawk gets antied and stunned up and then taken down. So two-player advantage now for Power Nappers. They are looking good to take this opening fight and start to build some momentum for the Spark progress.
Bulldog actually got killed way in the back. I thought he got killed with the dive with Cyberhawk, but Cyberhawk went in there alone with just his Zarya bubble. Yeah. Not even Tashran was with him, and that was just a recipe for disaster here. Lootbox with a very sloppy first fight. It's going to cost them first point potentially.
Yeah, they're going to try to re-engage into this. I don't think it'll be too successful as everybody's falling low. That's going to be Power Nappers looking good to capture a first point. 5 minutes now, so very quick capture of point A.
Yeah, but second point's here where the real challenge becomes, if Lootbox is able to stabilize here, they get, the best choke in the game to hold, which is watch point second on a dive composition where you can just hold the high ground. So this is a crucial fight for Power Nappers to win right here.
Yeah, re-engaging into second is not very attacker-friendly. A Cyberhawk taken down early. Really nice start. Resurrect is attempted, and there's enough peel there to make it a possibility. Heart's gonna still be moving though, and a really nice right click from the full charge Zarya of Glendale takes down Bulldog. Trade there onto the DPS duplicate. Onto the Zarya so they can build up a Graviton Surge fairly quickly, but the grab from Glendale is quite good, like you mentioned, is quite large. But now the counter grab from the duplicate is even better, and it results in 2 kills. Pulse Bomb does not find its target, and this is looking like Lootbox are going to be managing to turn around a fight that was looking lost.
I gotta give props there to to Cyberlock, who saw that the grab was big and actually boofed the high charge Zarya out of range to follow up on it, so he wasn't able to follow up, get any kills off of that. That's a pretty heads up play there from Cyberlock, able to negate that very large grab. It got the high charge Zarya and the Ana in it, both very, very big priority picks. And now, like I mentioned, they are now holding the best choke in the entire game, rivaled only by Rialto's second.
Yeah, quite hard to try to re-engage. And look at that grab, down range. The Pulse Bomb stuck into it, 2-player advantage off the back. Heart's gonna move a bit, but Tracer of Synex will be forced on out. And so this will be really nicely done there by Lootbox. And you can just stall out for so long in this position.
Yeah, no, let's talk a little bit about why it's so good. You know, this high ground, this spaceship just allows you access to the entire field. There's no real choke here. There's just 4 small doorways, so it's very easy to tell where the opponent is pathing from, and it's very easy to hold. But Power Nappers actually has established a foothold inside now, so Lootbox will not be able to stop these doors, will not be able to abuse this advantageous position anymore.
Yeah, and look, they're just collapse on Cheesy, take him down. There's a trade, Cyberlock falls. I don't know if they're going to be able to get a Resurrect off. And it does not look like they will be able to, so they will just be playing down a main tank. And now the Echo falls as well. It was very close to that duplicate though, so Resurrect is through. If he could stay alive, he could possibly get a duplicate, which could turn the fight. But he's just going to get taken down again, so Power Nappers have managed to break through this choke and have managed to capture up second point.
Yeah, that choke is very hard to push when the enemy has control and can stuff doors, but that was not the case there. Lootbox had to give up control. They lost too many members in the initial fight, and so they were not able to stuff the doors as they would have liked to, and now Power Nappers is rolling into third point with a very comfortable time bank.
Quite a comfortable time bank, like you mentioned. Double support ultimates. Having a duplicate and a Primal Rage, though, for Lootbox, so they could make something happen off of this, and without any ultimates, they just find the opening pick there onto Existence. Very nicely done. Now, Nanoboost has been applied onto Cyberlock. He tries to go in onto this backline. He's really nice whip shot to keep him away. They're doing a fairly nice job of keeping each other alive, this backline is, and they're still staying alive through all of this, and so Cyberlock may go down here. Going to manage to get out with his life, but essentially gets far less value with that Primal Rage than they would have wanted. Duplicate now onto a Winston. Double Winstons for the defense, but both are nearly killed. Taking out the duplicate is strong, and that's such a good grab. Takes down Cyberlock mid-air, actually. The Resurrect, it's a bit ambitious from Kados. And now Power Nappers in a very long fight have the player advantage.
Yeah, Kados there actually, with a very, very poor res decision there, is going to throw away his life more or less. And now Power Nappers is going to have way more control here than they reasonably should have without that Mercy Pocket to worry about.
Yeah, there's a trade 1-for-1. Zarya lost though for the attack. What not matter is they're just finding everything. Existence kills 3. And Power Nappers are in prime position to finish up their capture of Gibraltar. It's just going to be the stall. That's going to be at 2:03 on the clock for Power Nappers. Quite an attack.
Yeah, we talked about the differences between Power Nappers and Lootbox on Dive, but frankly, I didn't realize it was this different. I thought Power Nappers was maybe just slightly better, and Lootbox kind of edged their way out on the last map just due to some good plays. But Power Nappers here with a very commanding victory. 3-point push, rather. They haven't won the map quite yet. They still need to do a defense. So yeah, very, very impressive stuff from Power Nappers here, but it's possible they're just good at attack and they aren't very good at defense, or this map is just very attacker-sided, you know, so that's something that we see a lot, actually, with these dive compositions, that Gibraltar can get completed both ways, and we can go to extra innings pretty easily, so we'll have to see what Lootbox does on their attack before making any assumptions about how this attack will go.
Yeah, so, Gibraltar's one of those maps where you honestly can just get held at first, or you fully cap. You see a lot of both on this map, so it will... this map has not yet been decided, not by a long shot. Looks like Lootbox are going to start on a Symmetra similar to what Power Nappers did.
Yeah, and I would assume it's for the same reason. They're probably just going to teleport across to the other high ground or onto the catwalk and just give their team an advantageous position and that high ground without having to use any mobility cooldowns to do it. And yeah, that's exactly what will happen here, and it'll switch back over to... Actually, the Pharah now. We won't be getting a Tracer.
Okay.
I haven't seen Pharah in 3900 in a long time.
Yeah, interesting choice, and that's a nice conk mine. Well, not conk mine, it's Junkrat's. Concussion blast. There we go. Push them away. And Tracer on the side's taking a lot of pressure from this Pharah, and the dive's going to come through into the high ground and manage to take down Cheesy in the back. And this Pharah's demanding resources from around 3 of the different players on Power Nappers, so it allows them to be distracted from the dive that came through from Lootbox. Very well done there from them to manage to get this opening.
Yeah, Existence was very far away from his team, so not able to help out with the anti-dive effort. I wouldn't say Kree is necessarily an anti-dive character just because his lack of mobility makes him a pretty prime dive target. But the flashbang can be useful at stopping some dive characters like Tracer and other characters, but, you know, not with his team, can't help out.
So much damage there onto the Ana, and then the direct rocket onto him takes him down. There's a trade, though. So 1 for 1, and then the dive into the back to take down the Ana, and everybody else is going to fall. So it was looking really nice there for Lootbox at the start. They had a lot of pressure and a lot of damage in the opening pick, just not able to sustain it.
Yeah, and I don't really agree with that high noon choice there from Existence just to kill Bulldog. Probably would have just let him leave. He was getting close to it anyway. And speaking of things that people are close to, Lootbox is very close to this barrage here. It's going to be very hard to use it, though. We see this McCree posted up on the high ground here. Going to be very challenging to find an angle in which he cannot stun you out of it. But he does find it, actually.
Yeah,
wow.
he gets it after the McCree has moved on past. And he's just able to take down IQB, who's been isolated at that point. Very nicely done. Rally Tau going to come out from the defense to try to stabilize, but they're losing players left, right, and center. As it's going to be a Lootbox capturing up first point. It took them quite a while, but they do end up doing it in the end, and they do have 4 minutes.
Yeah, not as clean as Power Nappers by any stretch, but they do finally get it, and they will be able to control this spaceship, which will be beneficial for them. Especially with this Pharah, you're definitely not going to want to have to push into a Kree that has control of the spaceship. Now the Pharah is going to have a lot more vertical cover to work with. She's just going to be working at spamming these choke angles, just getting people low so that the other members of his team can follow up on that damage.
Yeah, now dive onto the high ground to try to put pressure onto them. Grab from quite a range. Hit both supports and they both fall. Very good awareness there from Draka. And that's going to be a very quick fight as they will continue with this card forward. One more fight needed to capture up second.
Yeah, and now Bulldog's really going to have a good position here. He's going to get right up against these doors. No one's going to be able to get through these doors cleanly without having to take some damage from these boosted rockets. And actually, it looks like Lootbox is just going to, or excuse me, Power Nappers might just give this up. No, IQB will come to touch very late here.
Oh, the barrage comes through. He actually waits till the flashbang has been used to commit it. Very smart on him. He got slept up, but everybody's already dropped for Power Nappers. Now 4:25 to finish up this map. And unlike your hybrid or 2CP, they will get another chance to attack as long as they fully cap.
That is correct here, and they do have the advantage in time bank now, but the card still has a ways to go. So if they want to get close to Power Nappers 203 time bank, they're going to have to win a fight here pretty cleanly. They only have a small room for error if they want to be even with their opponents.
Yeah, Nano Boost thrown into both Winstons, and they each result in a kill. High Noon finds one, and then Cybervok in the back. And the Winstons doing so much work on both sides. The Power Nappers are the one that have the follow-up frags. So it's going to be them holding on. And we're going to see Existence swap over to the Widowmaker.
Yeah, that's, it's not terrible for third point, just because of how long the sight lines are. You can definitely get a lot of value out of it here. We see it a lot in the Overwatch League, but it's still very strange to run here. The McCree is just so much more consistent and has the flash to keep himself alive. The Widow's just very squishy, as we're about to see here.
Yeah, Grab thrown in doesn't get too much value now. High noon from Tatron. Buys them some space. That's going to be a really nice pick there onto Glendale. And deep in the backline is some of these players from Power Nappers, but it buys space for a Resurrect. So I was going to say it's not too good, but it does buy space. And Simmerfall is caught off in the back and completely isolated due to that primal rage from IQB. So he ends up going down. Very nicely done. Resurrect is available. Graviton Surge. The Nene Grav comes through from Gronka. But it will not matter. They are still finding the kills that they need. And there's a barrage from Bulldog that you can drop at the store anytime you want. As they're just trying to kill the Tracer on the card. Stayed alive for quite a while. It looks like we could see very close, if not identical, time banks. As there's the barrage. Gonna get dropped. Finds one. There's a trade there as Existence actually gets a kill onto his McCree counterpart. Existence fights two on this McCree, and now all of a sudden, this is winnable fight there. He does a lot of damage onto the pharmacy as well. It sets up the rest of his team for success. And in a situation where they looked lost, Power Nappers are in a situation where they are going to be holding on to this point.
That is a very big fight win if you're Power Nappers. A great stall attempt to come out there. They will switch back onto their characters, which they won't have any real ults to speak of, but frankly, neither does Lootbox. So now they're in a really good spot here. They've whittled the time bank now. They have the advantage, even if Lootbox is able to cap here, so they've got to be feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, and Existence just killed two on McCree and then swapped back to Widow. Worked pretty well the first time though, so not too surprised. Now boost output onto Simmervox, who's trying to go aggressive. The pulse bomb to the back kills one, and then Existence with a follow-up. And Simmervox, who is going to be their focal point of that attack, just gets slept up. And Lootbox are trying to go for these dives, but they're just not able to follow up with the rest of the team, so they're just being very isolated, and Power Nappers are capitalizing.
Yeah, the problem here is Simmervox doesn't really have that partner to run around with. He doesn't have that Tracer, doesn't have an Echo. He's got to do things with the long-range damage of the Pharah and the Kree. So, really what we're going to see him do, or what he should do, is he should wait until there is like a reasonable amount of poke and then try to follow up on him. He can't just dive in hard because he doesn't have anyone to come with him. So it's going to lead to a very, very strange Winston playstyle.
Yeah, so it's going to be Bulldog falling to the Winston, actually. Everybody's just going to follow suit. Lootbox are just not able to get these synchronized dives that are needed, and now they may be struggling to even finish capturing Gibraltar.
Yeah, no, with only 30 seconds remaining, they're going to have to come up big here. They've got a Valkyrie and the Graviton Surge online, as well as Tatron's High Noon. So it is still possible, but they've got to deal with this Pulse Bomb from Cynics. Just one stick, and this map's all but over.
He does not get the stick, but the dive is so good! And then the anti-nade on top of it. That's just so well executed there from Power Nappers. Only 10 seconds left. I don't think anybody's going to be able to get to the cart. They're just going to hold them at the spawn room. Nobody's able to exit. Less than 5 seconds left. A great headshot on the Kados, who is the only one that may even have a chance. And Power Nappers are going to stay alive in this series as they take Gibraltar.
And this is exactly what we needed to see from Power Nappers here. They go to their map pick. They emphasize the fact that they're like, hey, look, you want to run us, dive against us, and it's just not going to go well for you. We're just better at it. And they do an excellent job here on Gibraltar of holding that third point here. It looked like Lootbox would be able to even it out, but just a great stall attempt. And then from there on, just textbook dives from Power Nappers. And they're able to secure Gibraltar. Important to note, though, I'm sure Lootbox does not want to face them on dive. Now they want to go back to a brawl map, and it is their map pick. We're going to get into 2CP here. So Lootbox will have the advantage of being able to choose their home turf.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if we saw them go with a map like Hanamura, which can be very brawl heavy. So we're going to look at some quick stats from Vert, as Ana played on I think the entire map there. Had a lot of impact there, as you can see. Very well done there. Great job by Vert, who has kind of just been silently pumping in a lot of work from that flux support position.
Yeah, no, a lot of good antis there. The work or the mark of a good Ana in double bubble is not how much healing you have, even though he does have plenty coming in there at about 9.5k per 10. But yeah, no, like the primary job of an Ana in Double Bubble, in Dive, is not to heal your team. It's to farm Nano, which can involve healing your team. But it's also to find antis, right? There are a few things in this game that can secure a fight quicker than a 3-man anti, right? Like that's just no healing on 3 targets. That, I mean, especially when there's squishies. I mean, a Winston loves that. That is like every Winston's dream is to see just a massive anti come in as soon as they dive in. And Vert doing a good job of finding those antis for his team. So excellent play from the Ana of Power Nappers.
Yeah, and I said we may see Hanamura be selected for loot boxes. It is a
You're psychic.
possibly the highest, the best brawl map for 2CP, and that's going to be what they choose. So it's going to be Hanamura. We're going to be switching sides as well. So Power Nappers, I mean, yeah, Power Nappers will be starting on the defense. So interested to see what Power Nappers want to bring, if they will just try to play the Brawl Mirror, or if they try to run the dive still. The double bubble is just not very good on this map compared to the Brawl, so it'll be interesting to see what they opt to go with. You could see some double shield as well on this map, honestly, but I do imagine that they'll just be forced to play this Brawl.
Yeah, I mean, like double bubble can be run, and it is possible to run a dive. It can be popular just because that left side high ground is easy to control against a brawl comp, as they don't really leave anyone up there. You can kind of just dive through the choke and ignore them entirely. But with double bubble specifically, when you have to walk so many members through the choke, it can still be very challenging. So I would think it would be likely to see more of a brawl here. But definitely a potential for anything. You mentioned double shield. I think, honestly, double shield, double bubble, brawl, we can see anything, and that's a good thing, right? It's good that the meta is very diverse right now.
Yeah, we are getting in here, like I mentioned. Power Nappers going to be starting on the defense.
Ready for battle.
As they were going to run the Sigma Diva. Okay, so they're going to go for this kind of dive-ish poke comp. Where you see the ball Diva and then the Pharah try to collapse, while you have the Ana and the Astra trying to poke in from the high grounds. Attack, I doubt we'll see them run the Bastion, but they might.
Yeah, that's got to be big. I do like this comp from Power Nappers. What you're going to see them do, Existence is going to be posted up on the high ground. Cynics is going to be flying around in the air, and they're not going to play anywhere near each other. They want to take crossfires. They want to set up angles in which the side of Lootbox has to look at one of them, but not the other. And from there, IQB is just going to slam in wherever he can, try to keep them in open space for as long as possible, allow his DPS time to use those angles effectively.
There's the teleport onto point. Very nice concussion blast to separate the Baptiste from everybody else, and then he goes down there. Really nicely done there by Cynics to start off this fight. And then Clap is there. The anti-nade, we talked about Vert in the break. Oh, this time the anti-nade finds 2 and finds 1 kill. This is going to be a tick and a bit gained for Lootbox, but the fight win is still going to go the way of Power Nappers.
Oh, they're looking to stagger, actually, that Sigma there. They know they can leave him sleeping and he won't get any ult charge. So they just leave him be, take a little bit more time off of Lootbox's time bank. And now, actually, Power Nappers in a very, very good spot here. They know the Sinistrat's online here. Tatrin not going to swap off of it. I would expect to see Tatrin put that teleporter somewhere else other than point now. Maybe on this high ground to try to dislodge this far. We'll have to see here as they get into choke.
The Metro TP is going to be onto the side here, so a bit different spot. The
Four-man
anti-nade is so good. 4-man anti, like you said. The dynamite in as well. And then they just booped him out of the immortality field. And a couple of nice shots from Existence as Cynics finish up this fight. I mean, the DPS line from Power Nappers really making their presence known.
Yeah, there will be a kill there, but of course that Mercy, it's almost like it didn't happen. The only thing reminding us is that kill feed that is now passed.
But now if there's an early pick, they don't have the res, so it's still useful.
That is true, but they have been really struggling to get those early picks. I wouldn't be too worried about it. Power Nappers here coming up on 5 ultimates here, including ones that are be very, very good for this point, such as the Bob and the Mines. We'll have to see what happens here. They're still on the Symmetra. That's so weird to me.
Yeah, they're going to try to use that TP to get through the choke there, which they do successfully. Now they're just going to try to... They want to wrap around the backside of the point. will start to do so. Farrah's going to drop the barrage from super far away. What an accretion!
Yeah.
Very quick there from Groka to send it in, and then the bomb in the back does manage to find Bulldog. So now, for the first time, Lootbox looked like they had a nice engagement. Does not matter, though, as everybody is still standing strong there for Power Nappers. Existence gets taken down once again, but everybody else is falling, and then they can just delay some of these kills by a bit more time.
Lootbox, they were also able to hang on to a lot of their ultimates, including the mines, which is going to be very, very good. If we do see Lootbox get onto point, especially with the sim wall, the mines are going to be so good at breaking them up, keeping them split, and allowing this very split dive comp to really follow up on that chaos.
Yeah, as they're just gonna chill out. They're still in the Symmetra. The symbol is available, which gets thrown in as they TP onto point. The Rectamal's facing a fair amount of pressure, so it's not horrible. And at the high noon, I mean, barely sees Vert, but still fights the kill. Diva Bomb onto the point, buys a decent amount of space, and the 2 kills. That environmental in the follow-up, and then the reback from Glumdale finds 2. Oh my. Try doing his best Void imitation out here.
I hate that that's a thing. I just want to make that known right now, especially as a support player who doesn't have mobility. Every time I get killed by a remecking diva is a brain cell that I'm never going to get back because I have to see that in my kill feed. And that's just so sad for me. I do not know why that change went through. It's very funny, I will say that.
It's funny when it happens to other people.
It's very funny when it happens to other people, you're right.
Yeah, so teleport on the point, then the sound barrier, which means they can sustain through Cynic's barrage for now, but the anti was good, so it brought a lot of the players on Lootbox down fairly low. They are able to fight a 1-for-1 trade, though, as there's a follow-up as Lootbox finally have a man advantage, but a 3-man anti-nade. There's just a lack of follow-up, though, as the players are not available for Lootbox. It's going to be, for Power Nappers, excuse me, as it's going to be Lootbox capturing up first point.
Yeah, Kados' sound barrier there was very, very large. Allows them to sustain through that barrage, even with the big anti from Vert. And now Lootbox looking a little bit better here. Don't have too many ultimates to speak of for this point. Getting close to the high noon, though, and they're going to teleport to the back of the point and try to make the most of it.
Yeah, they do try to teleport to the back. They do successfully. Bob now thrown in, and then Existence finds 2. Oh my word, just shuts them down before they can even get there. Bit of an emote on the high ground, as that's going to be a very quick engagement for fight win, excuse me, for Power Nappers.
Yeah, nice stabilization as well. They're not allowing their opponents to snowball
the
by any means. Yeah, well, I couldn't tell you. I'm not in their comms. I'm not their coach. If I were their coach, I'd be a little bit disappointed right now. I'd be like, just get on literally any other character. I don't even care if you play Doomfist right now. Just don't give me Sim. Like, Sim can't really do anything against either of these DPS. Can't really do anything against these tanks that maybe slow down the ball. But they're going to keep going for it. Maybe they want this Sim wall to try to close off some angles from their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but yeah, they're just dead. I mean, they teleport to the point, and then they just get poked from so many angles. What they're trying to do is they would just want to get to point, and then force Power Nappers to drop, but Power Nappers could just kill them before there's a need to. They just have so much poke damage.
Yeah, we're seeing this nice little rotation of teleport, anti-nade, dynamite, Farah damage, slam, and it's just like, we showed up and we're instantly dead. And for some reason, they have not been like, I think the reason we are losing these fights is because we are on a bad composition. And so they're just going to keep ramming their heads into a wall. They do have the sim wall now, so they can close off these angles. Like I said, what they can do here is they can set up a wall splitting point that makes the Ashe pretty much useless against them and just play one side of the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that TP was. It buys him some space. The symbol's not too great, and then the barrage comes through. There's defense matrix there to keep him alive, and the Deadeye finds 1, but the trades are there as the nano boost from the Farah just causes so much damage, and so many resources are needed to try to keep the Lootbox players alive. They try to use the Sim TP to reposition, and they do manage to get out with their lives, a couple of these members, but just overall, just Lootbox not looking too good.
This does not seem like the same Lootbox we saw on maps 1 and 2. Like, I don't know, there's no subs in, so it's not like anything happened, anything changed, but they are really struggling here to find a foothold into this point.
Yeah, they're gonna try to teleport 4-man anti-nade though. It's pretty good. The D.Va Bomb fights one. Remake actually gets a ton of damage onto the tank lines. And then they manage to find a follow-up. Glumdil does go down though. As it's not gonna matter because Power Nappers are just too good. Decent progress gain though from Lootbox on second point. So the map is not a complete lost cause, but it is quite tough.
Yeah, actually that tick and I don't know what percent that was. Like what? Like a little, like close to like 60% of the point. That's actually huge because what it does, it gives them a win condition now, right? It gives them a very, very specific win condition. All they need to do is really hold second point, right? First point, maybe not the most holdable point in the game. Second point can be very challenging to push, especially against a really well-run brawl comp that abuses that upper left choke point that we see a lot of teams go through. So Lootbox definitely does still have a win condition for this map, even with their subpar attack. If they have a really strong defense here, then Power Nappers is going to be looking worse for wear.
Yeah, we have to get a quick pause. We have some production issues, but hopefully we can get everything sorted out. But yeah, this is our Nappers looking much better than they did in those opening two maps. It was a big theme of they were losing to Brawl, but they are just winning, running a what's adorably seen as a inferior comp on this map. So quite interesting. Defense now for Lootbox. Gonna be the double shield.
The double shield. So the benefit of this double shield comp, right, is the thing you can do with it is you can play split so well. So what we're going to see is the Sigma on the high ground, and we're going to see the Orisa on the low ground. What we're going to see is a split between the two teams, or at least we should see a split between the two teams. They're actually not going to run it. So they're actually going to play just the Sigma on the off angle and everyone else down by the Orisa. This is going to be really weird because now you don't have that hit scan on the high ground, which is so impactful, and you don't have a lot of angle control.
Yeah, that's a really nice engagement with the pink line there, Power Nappers, to separate Hatcheron in. Move him, very nice start. They're going to now try to just wrap around play this, so no reason to rush it. Wrecking Ball with a very nice dive, and then so much damage on top. They are just, it feels like just a comp dip, honestly. The comp that Power Nappers are running into Lootbox, when done correctly, it can just decimate this double shield. So now, they'll have over 6 minutes to try to capture second.
And see, this is something that I was worried about. You know, Lootbox put themselves in a really poor position because of how they played that. They kept all their members on low ground, didn't control that high ground at all, didn't play double shield split at all, and that just is a recipe for disaster because when you give a dive composition so much angle control and the ability to surround you and poke you down from multiple angles, you're just going to lose. There is no other way that fight goes.
Yeah, we will see what they're able to do here on second. Good dynamite, decent amount of damage. And then, environmental kill for... Oh, he got hacked off the edge. Okay. Well, well done there. Just gonna chill out, wait for respawns, and then try to go back in.
Just a slight note, can we get a hack kill animation just for situations like that where I hack like a far off the map or something? I think that would be really cool, because all it says is just like they fell off the map. But that's like, I want like a boop for Sombre, right? She's got the boop sound line. Give her the boop. Give her the hack that gives her environmental kills in the kill feed. That would be so cool for me.
That would be quite a nice feature there. Power Nappers, though, gonna try to move up towards this left side. Take control of this high ground. There's gonna be an attempt at a counter dive. Really nice sleep dart. No kill due to the defense matrix. Taking a lot of pressure, though, and he's able to stay alive still for quite a while before falling. Resurrect is able to come through, but 3 players have already dropped for Lootbox. This is just desperation time. Any ultimates they have, the D.Va Bomb needs to come up big, and it finds nothing. There's a kill there on a Cheesy, and of course they cannot resurrect themselves. Double kill, but the support line's down, so if they are able to stall out, this could be winnable, but nobody's able to be there. Power Nappers tying up this series in quite dominant fashion.
Yeah, no, and we talked about how Hanamura was a map where we could see more brawl, but Power Nappers proving us wrong, showing us the dive is still king on this map, running that very, very well executed ball D.Va dive. And honestly, we got to give him credit where credit's due. This was just a fantastic job all around. And then now they have even this series out. There's the remake kill from Glemdal, which you love to see. Now they've even out this series, and we'll go back into control now. But the momentum is heavily in favor of Power Nappers here. Something important to note, though, Control does favor more brawlier maps. I can't think of a single like Control map off the top of my head that does not have at least one very brawly map in it. They all have at least one point where brawl is just the meta. So we're gonna have to see where Lootbox chooses to take us. Coming up next, we get some nice little stats on Cynics here. On that Pharah was just going absolutely nuts in the sky there with 37 eliminations, 13k damage. That's a lot.
Oh,
if I do say so myself.
Yeah, nearly 13k per 10. I mean, over 13k per 10. Or around 13k per 10. I can't, talk. It's okay. But
also only 2 deaths.
Yeah, 37 and 2. That's pretty good. Yeah, so quite a dominant fair performance there by Cynics on that map. But now we are going to be moving on to, like you said, Control. Be back over to Lootbox's map pick, but while we wait for this, we're going to be heading to a quick break while we prepare for the final map and conclusion of the series. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to GitGud Europe Season 7 Expert, and we are having a pretty close matchup between Power Nappers and Lootbox. First 2 maps went the way of Lootbox in what was a pretty dominant fashion, kind of dominating the Brawl matchup. But Power Nappers answered back with 2 very good maps of their own, and a very dominant Hanamura, which we just watched. I'm Jerazer. I'm joined here by Misfit, and we're now getting ready for our final map of the series, which will be Ilios.
Yeah, and I do think this lends itself to a little bit of a more divey playstyle. I don't really think the Brawl is that good here. We can sometimes see it on teams try to control that cages area. But it's just overall, I think dive is better here, especially on Lighthouse. Ruins especially is not very good for Brawl. The sightlines are just too long. There's too much poke that a Brawl comp can take when they're pushing. So I don't actually like this map pick very much from Lootbox, and I do think it favors Power Nappers here. We'll have to see how it goes when we get into it, though. Obviously, if they pick this map in a map 5 scenario, they must be very confident they can win it, or else there's no reason for them to pick it. So we'll have to see how it goes when we get into here. We're going to start out here on Ruins.
Ooh, Widow map. Yay.
You said that with so much enthusiasm.
I love Widow maps.
I don't like Widow maps because I have to play support and I have to play Ana, and it's not fun playing Ana into a Widow because my counterplay is don't peek.
Just play a bunch of CS:GO, come back to Overwatch, and then realize you can aim now. That's what I do.
All right.
I used to be a tank because I couldn't aim, but then I learned to aim. It was pretty crazy. But I'd be surprised if we saw Widow though. She's pretty weak currently.
Yeah, that 175 health nerf was, I didn't really think it would actually affect her too much, but it makes her just squishy enough for her hitbox to no longer be a factor. And now we will see actually the full Sombra Reaper, as my old team like to call it, the Mexican Inquisition here of Reaper and Sombra. And it's a pretty strong comp right now. I know, it's a great comp name.
I'm gonna call it that next time I see it. I normally call it the Shadow Dive to differentiate in between the Reinhardt variation.
Oh, fair.
Instead of the Shadow Brawl, but I'll call this the Mexican Inquisition for now. They're gonna try to dive in though, and they're putting a decent amount of pressure onto the tanks of Power Nappers. And look where the supports are forced into this corner, and then Lootbox capitalized on that. The Lootbox in this fight just set the tempo very well, and they just have more mobility with their comp.
Yeah, so what Lootbox's comp is going to be really good at is they're going to have a lot of scouting here, right? Tatron on that Sombra is going to be in the backline telling them exactly where Power Nappers is, and if he gets a hack off, it's just going to be free wins for Lootbox. They can engage really hard with that Lucio. They have the sustain with the Moira, and in case they take a lot of damage and need to get out of there, unlike with the Reinhardt, that Winston can just leave.
Yeah, now they're gonna try to engage onto the support line. And they're just
like
they did last time. And there's so much pressure onto them, but Overwatch is the one that ends up falling. Just takes a lot of poke damage there. Coalesces keep everybody alive on Lootbox. And it's needed. Even though they were up 1 in the situation, they lost a lot of players. The stick is there, but they have no players. Everybody is dead. It was a nice pulse bomb, but just nothing really there.
Yeah, but now Lootbox cannot hold this very aggressively, and this is gonna give Power Nappers at least a little bit of breathing room there. A little bit of a misplay there by Duro-san, walks forward in the Coalescence once he gets stuck, and it actually kills Bulldog. So yeah, we see now Power Nappers is gonna get like 3 contests all the way to point here. This EMP coming online now for Thatcher, and that's gonna be the win condition here for Lootbox.
Yeah, EMP is online. It's gonna get dropped to hits 4, excuse me. And the dive is gonna come through. Glendale kills himself with a right click. And Lootbox are looking. They look like they found a comp that they feel much more comfortable on. This comp plays more like a brawl than it does a dive. But you still have the mobility a dive comp has.
Exactly, and that gives you survivability in a lot of ways.
Staggering the McCree. Okay,
this is
so
actually really good.
Because they have the Somber, they know he has ultimate, so there's no reason not to do this.
Yes, no, this is something that I wish teams would do more often, especially with characters like Mercy or Baptiste, right? It doesn't matter if they already have their ultimate, you can still stagger them. So a very, very good job.
Now they can just take a 5v6.
Yeah, and they're going to...
That's so nicely played, and now they're just going to win the map. I mean, Power Nappers went from having another fight in the bank to having none due to this very just intelligent play there from Lootbox. Very nicely done, and now that's just going to be them taking this first point 100% to 0 as soon as they can finish taking out the stragglers.
Tracer here, they do get the stick though. Cynics there has been crazy. This entire series, really, he's been really, really strong for Power Nappers, but especially on this Tracer, unfortunately not enough to secure them the first map. In Lootbox, winning 100 to 0 on our first point here. That's definitely how they want to start off a map 5 scenario. Now they only need to win 1 more point as opposed to their opponents too.
Yeah, we're going to be moving on to Lighthouse now.
Arissa Rhine.
Arissa Rhine. We saw this a bit. We saw this a bit at the late 2019, early 2020. This comp was pretty good, but Symmetra's just been nerfed so much, and then Reinhardt as well has also been nerfed. So it's just not as good anymore. It's simple as that.
Oh, we're actually a Mercy Lucio dive from Power Nappers?
Yeah, not a lot of heals. They just want to go super quickly into this, and I don't know if it's going to work very well. Symmetra TP is available, and they're just going to go straight to point with it. These are 2 very strange compositions. Dive is good. A lot of damage in. Are they able to find any kills? They are. The boot off onto the edge. So Lootbox with a player advantage as the main take is gone for Power Nappers. And while I don't like the Lootbox comp, I dislike the Power Nappers comp even more.
Yeah, I don't like this Lucio with this. Honestly, I think a switch to the Zen would be better here, just because you can focus this comp down from angles here. We can see Cynics is just dominating, getting us so much damage here with this Pharah.
Like, finds 1 though.
Barrage not good.
Yeah, I mean, that barrage was just right in the shield, so he did a lot of damage to himself, so Lootbox is just going to hold on to this point. The Ant Maker close forced out, that's about it.
I think Power Nappers is going to find that they need to control angles. I like the swap to the Ana here. What they're going to try to do is find an Antsy on there that's just going to make the damage actually mean something, because right now with this Baptiste in there, it's so hard for any of this damage to be meaningful, just because Baptiste does so much healing, has that eye field, has that regen burst, just such a impactful healer. So Power Nappers need to establish angle control. They need to make these shields not a factor. They need to get angles. They need to find damage somewhere, and they need to be able to follow up on it in a precise manner.
Yeah, a lot of poke coming through though. Lootbox was able to bunker up with the help of this Immortality Kill. Now with the Metro Wall, they could just chill out, just take a lot of this poke damage. Well, Power Nappers are building up ultimates. Lootbox doesn't really care. And when IQB tries to engage, he just goes down to the flashbang. Headshot comes through. Barrage finds 2 before getting traded. No the Resurrect's not able to come through. Now Lootbox needs 1 more fight win to take the series.
Yeah, and it's looking like they're going to be able to do it here. A lot of ults online, including that Supercharger, which is one of the best ults in the game. Has one of the highest fight win percentage. Highest fight win percentages, I should say, right up there with EMP, which I'm sure we all know is a very powerful ultimate. And right now, Power Napper's just looking worse for wear. It doesn't look like they're going to have any way in here, except maybe with Duro-san for some reason going to high ground.
Yeah, they wanted to use the Sim TP due to the fact that he had died there to get him back, as the Symmetra and him had both died. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but the Sim put the TP on the high ground instead of straight to point. And so it just cost them the player, and now Power Nappers are able to stay alive.
Now we see actually a complete flip here. While Lootbox is on the point, they are one of the scariest comps in the game. But if you can prevent them from being on that point, this dive composition is going to destroy you. They need to watch for this teleporter, and they need to be able to break it or stop them with a concussion mine of some kind to be able to stop the teleport.
There's the TP straight on the point, though. The anti-aid's good. Good flashbang. Are they able to find the kill? Duracin is, like, hit out with the concussion blast, and then the Diva Bomb in finds 2. The point was flipped over as it's a 3k Diva Bomb if you count that remet kill. It's going to be Power Nappers maintaining control.
The boop there. I didn't know if it was from IQB or Cynics, but whoever booped Durosun off point there, it was from Cynics. Well, excellent heads-up play. We talked about him earlier. Very, very good player. Has been very big for this team all series. And once again, coming up big there. Securing the kill on the Baptiste, and that's what won them the fight, right? Getting a kill on a Baptiste in a Brawl comp is just always going to be the most impactful pick you can find. And Cynics there following up off the Dynamite with 2 damage-boosted rockets, able to secure another fight for his team.
I'm in. Simpervox just killed him. Wait, Simpervox is on the Diva. Okay, the main tank's now playing the Diva.
Oh well, this is because he was on the Orisa.
Yeah, but
they didn't want to give up the Shatter. That's why.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just like thinking about it. It's kind of weird that they played the main tank on the Orisa. But we're gonna go through the choke here. Ooh, really nice boot there to keep them away for now. Now Nano boost, but the Brawl's gonna struggle due to the Symmetra wall, and they just gets blown up. There's a trade down to Bulldog, however, the Dynamite into the back. Shatter comes through. Does it cancel down IQB for just a second? Anti-Nade finds 2. Loop off onto the edge, and Groka needs to turtle up into a corner. And now, 10% away is Power Nappers from sending us to well.
Yeah, we got a few more percent left. They just have to stop the touch now, and they're going to be able to do it. And that's going to be now. Wow, that's really. It came down to that botch teleport there from Tetran. If he hadn't teleported his Baptiste to high ground there, Lootbox would have secured that. And now they have to go to Well, which is one of the only maps on this that I really, really hate the Brawl. I mean, I should say it is the one that people play the most on, but it's just so easy to find ways around it. If you're smart enough. It does look like Lootbox.
I want to see Lootbox run the Spanish Inquisition again.
Well, it's the Mexican Inquisition, right? We called it the Spanish Inquisition for a time because they both speak Spanish, right? But that felt wrong, right? Because they're not from Spain. So they're not really the Spanish Inquisition. So they're the Mexican Inquisition. I don't know. I think it's clever. You guys can tell us in the comments if you think it's good or not. But yeah, we're gonna see a Brawl versus Dive matchup once again.
Yeah, so Brawl versus this Ball Diva comp. Lootbox are gonna try to wrap around the side. They need to try to take down this pharmacy. Could be the opening they need. A lot of pressure on Farah, and Lootbox just chilling out there in the cage. Hold on, able to hit the shot. Good flashbang. Fan the hammer as well. A lot of pressure onto IQB, and he goes down. Are they able to keep Bulldog up? They are, but the rest of the team is not able to do so. So the ball, well, he did end up going down there. Served more as a distraction than as the focal point of their dash.
Yeah, once again, we're seeing this Ashe farm Mercy, I should say, from Power Nappers. And what they're doing is they're doing such a good job of creating angles for each other. Existence and Cynics on 2 very different angles, which is allowing them to break up this this Brawl composition. Again, we say it again. They have to look one way or another to stop someone's damage, and that gives the other an angle of some kind to make things happen. But IQB's off the map. Probably was going for a rollout and just went a little bit too low, and now the opening is there for Lootbox.
I'm not sure how he went down there. That's a nice kill there on Cynic. That's gonna be it. They just got a 5v6 for free. I don't know if there was a boop off onto the edge or what. There is gonna be a pause.
DC'd.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. So I assume he was going for a rollout and then disconnect or lost connection during it. But that's just quite tragic there from Power Nappers. But hopefully we can get him back into the game. But yeah, this is I feel like Power Nappers have the compositional advantage there. We saw a comp swap right there from Lootbox onto more of a. I think they had the pharmacy, and then I'm not sure if they switched to the ball or not. I thought they
So
had.
they had a Winston. They had a Winston.
They had the Winston. Okay, so they switched to more of a dive comp. So
Yeah.
I do like that comp swap though from Lootbox. But yeah, that disconnect's gonna be quite tragic because they lose a fight there, and I believe if they either had the mines or they were quite close to them.
Yeah, no, I definitely do like the comp swap there. Allows them to be more survivable. The brawl is just too vulnerable to the angles of the Ash and the Pharah. If you're not taking damage boosted rockets, you're taking a damage boosted dynamite. Either one is just your Baptiste is not having a good time there trying to heal all that damage, and it just leads to the situation where it just brings so much chaos. There's so many angles, there's so much happening, and a brawl comp can't deal with it very well. So you switch over to the more survivable a dive composition, which doesn't have to worry about a pharmacy as much. Obviously, Pharah likes immobile targets, likes things that don't move very much, so that they can just pound damage in. But once those targets are much more mobile and have more cooldowns that allow them to dodge the Pharah, it becomes much less of a factor. So I think we're going to see Cynic's value decrease quite a bit here. But I know maybe I shouldn't make assumptions. He's been pretty cracked so far.
Yeah, we're back in there. AQB back onto the wrecking ball, but split presence given over to.
Thanks for the assist.
Just gonna play this slowly. Getting ready to dive on in. A couple ultimates for both sides. DPS pulls up for Power Nappers. Dive onto the high ground there. Barrage comes through from Cynics. Goes Vance to find Simpervok. Good opening. There is a trade there. As there you have the Mercy wings coming out. Does allow them to get the Resurrect down through, but the other res is there, so essentially it's a 5v5 on this point here. A great anti-nade. The remake comes through and takes down the Baby Diva. Haidu now comes out for essentially a reload there. Yeah, quite a lot of remake kills this game. As this is looking like Power Nappers should be able to resume control of the point.
It was a good comp switch from Lootbox, not quite enough to keep control of the point, but it's still a very, very even game right now. Power Nappers in control of the point, coming up on these mines, has the nano. Balls in their court. We're going to have to see how they set up here. We're going to have to see if they're able to hold this point here. They need about 2 more fights here, and the series is going to be theirs.
We have a nano boost. For a lot of them have been put onto the fair, so I wouldn't be surprised. I believe it hit the Mercy.
No,
it hit the Pharaoh? Okay, I thought it hit the Mercy there, but Himabone goes into the back, takes down Vert soon after. Great is there due to a lot of damage being pumped in. The mines are good placement, but just no kills off the back of them. Mirage out from Cynics, finds one before he's traded. I believe they already used Resurrect, so it's not going to be online. Very back and forth, it's 3-on-2. Make that a 3-on-1. Everybody is quite low for the side of Lootbox, but they just don't really have anybody on the opposition to kill them.
Simpervok needed to use the primal to live there. The boop was pretty big, so that's an ultimate now gone for Lootbox there. Maybe he should just let himself die so he can get back to the point quicker, but either way now, Cynics is going to be off that far onto the Echo. Give himself a little bit more of an advantageous role, maybe a little bit more mobility, a little bit more kill potential. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, good Barrage, finds one. Now he's forced on back. Gets the DMAC onto the Diva as well. They're looking like they should be able to finish him off. Very nicely done for the side of Lootbox. There's now 1 fight away. 1 fight to decide the winner of this series.
Yeah, Existence also has this Bob, which is very important here. It's going to have to be their point contest because they don't really have much else. They're back onto this Mercy Lucio thing that we saw earlier, most likely just the contest. Final fight here, starting off.
Yeah, High Noon comes out just to really not too much. Trades her in. The Wrecking Ball putting a lot of pressure onto this McCree. The Bob is doing a lot as well. Brocock not able to get back into the mech there, as this is looking like Power Nappers could be running away with this map. As this is looking quite lost, only the Mercy onto the point there. As this series is nearing its conclusion. The reverse sweep is looking like it's gonna be concluded here. Just some stall here, 95% for Power Nap.
It's gonna have to touch. It's gonna be the Diva of Groka. Bombs out there, not gonna find anyone. I think that's gonna be it. The Tracer's the last one there, but it's not gonna be enough. Despite a very strong first showing, it looks like Lootbox will fall in the final hour.
Yeah, just not looking too good here. Couple of misplays here on the final map have cost them the Wrecking Ball. Try to stall for as long as possible. The stall is quite good. And Kroka, oh no, falls into the well there. As that's going to be it. Power Nappers take the series 3-2.
Yeah, and with that, they secure their position in the playoffs for our expert division of GGEU. Cynics here getting the play of the game, and honestly, it's much deserved. Had a very, very good showing on the far, especially on this map here. Lighthouse was a big reason for his team's success. And we got to give Power Nappers credit for adjusting there. They did a great job understanding why they were losing, making the adjustment. Lootbox there, really strong on the brawl. Maybe needs some work on that dive composition. Got to give them props too. They played a good game, but this one just went the way of Power Nappers.
Yeah, Power Napper is just too good. As we can take a look at Cynic's stats, look at that. Like that's almost 60k per 10. I mean
Yeah,
that's
part of it.
That's absolutely absurd there. You can think back to our second point of Lighthouse. I mean, he built up 2 ultimates, 2 barrages, and 2 fights when they lost both of them just because of how Lootbox were playing that. So that does help pat the stats a bit. But speaking about Lighthouse, you think back to that fight that they lost that when they had 99%. The Sim TP to get the Baptiste back to the point, it went to the high ground instead of straight to point, which caused him to get picked off. And if he was, and they looked like they had a stronghold on that point. And so, like, I'm not saying that cost them the series, but they would have had a good shot at winning that fight.
I'm saying it cost them the series.
I
I think
think
if you
I
had your
think
BAP on point there, you definitely win that. And that just a slight misplay. We talk about in the highest levels of Overwatch, it comes down to the smallest little things, right? The smallest mistakes can have the biggest impact. And right there, just a very, very small error from the side of Lootbox. It cost them the map, and it leads to them losing the series.
Yeah, it was just not the conclusion that they were looking for. But now we will be going to a quick break while we get prepared for our second game. It's going to be in the rookie division, so we're going to drop down a couple of ranks. Cursed Owls versus Pixelate will be that series. So don't make sure to stick around so you can be here for that series. Don't go anywhere.